A unique horror adventure. My name is Artemis Prime. I wanted to do something a little bit different for this episode. Just coming off the Kingdom Hearts series, I wanted to do something a little more standalone that we could knock out in one episode. I've played this game one time, and it's. I remember it being pretty cool, and indeed a unique horror adventure. So it's like a very choose your own adventure esque game. Lots of text, lots of like you find stuff and you could take it or not, or you can interact with things or not, or whatever. So you basically build it yourself, and so you can play through it a couple of times. I don't remember a whole lot about it, so it'll be semi new for me. So we'll see what happens. So anyway, let's go ahead and jump right in. So game will be saved automatically. Blah blah blah. Turn off the lights. I will not be doing because otherwise the thing will just give me crap the whole time. Like you can't see what's going on your broadcast. Bleh. So before we get started there, are we up and running over here? We are up and running over here. Can you hear me? Cool. Alright. I have to put on my epic, sultry reading voice. All I remembered at that point was finding myself alone. Oh, oh my head. Where was I? It was so dark. I think that's supposed to be an eye-opening. There was something by my feet, a flashlight. And you immediately take over as Ron Weasley. That house, where was I? Ooh. There was a body lying on the floor. Who was it? I didn't recognize his face. He was still kind of warm. Why'd you touch him? I'd say I think you basically want to interact with everything. A cat. Like, twice. Let's explore the top floor. A dripping roof, I don't like it. The desk had a computer and some papers on it in a single drawer. I didn't want to snoop, but did I open the drawer? And I'm probably going to do everything just because I don't remember what happens otherwise. Receipts, pens, and a blurry photo, like a store of some kind. Why did this look so familiar? I really shouldn't have been going through this stuff, getting my fingerprints everywhere. Well, it's too late for that, isn't it? Blood on the wall. It smelled fresh and sickening. I realized there was blood on my shoes and pants. Bum, bum, bum. Oh man, I had to get out of there. If that man died in the hallway, what was this blood doing here? Alright, so I guess we'll go downstairs. I noticed that I limped as I moved down the stairs. How did I hurt my leg, I wondered. All I could really recall was coming home, seeing Rachel. I was upset. She looked afraid. I shook my head and tried to clear it. I knew I should head downstairs, try to find a way out. The shelf was full of books on local history and hunting. It seemed like the owner of the house really knew the area. There were scribbles of all kinds on random scraps of paper, and notes about some kind of water tower. Did he mean the one by the old train yard? That's exactly the one. Oh, pardon? I don't remember if this game's scary or not. We're gonna find out. An old dining table covered in dirty dishes for two people. There were dozens of beer cans and other liquor bottles among the dishes. The smell was turning my stomach. How long had this been here, rotting? The man upstairs didn't look like he'd been dead a long time. A black and white photo looked like the man upstairs and his wife, I guess. There was no reason for me to keep this, but did I take it? Yes! I slipped the photo into my pocket. Maybe this would help me find some answers. Like, I mean, it's funny. I do remember him being like, yeah, I don't need this, but I'm going to take it anyway. This is another downstairs, so let's A thin gray mouse was stuck in a trap. It looked frantic but exhausted. Did I free it? It's on my house. Look at us being awesome and kind. A collection of rusty tools. These looked like they'd seen a lot of use and were caked in damp-smelling dirt. Why weren't they in a shed? Because someone's about to use them, maybe? This was an odd place to keep yard tools. What would they have been used in here for? A photo similar to the one I picked up. It'd been moved a lot. There seemed to be a switch behind it. Did I push the switch? Well, of course. It depressed smoothly into the wall. I heard a faraway click somewhere. And I turned it to the side. Didn't hang it back up to cover my tracks or anything, no big deal. And I guess we'll head back downstairs. Or not back, because we haven't been here before. I looked like hell. My clothes were dirty and torn, and there was mud caked all over my shoes. Had I been sleepwalking again? Was that how I got to that house? Did something just hit the door? The door was taped up and seemed to be stuck. By the smell, I guess it led to the kitchen. I gave the door a hard shove in. To my surprise, it cracked open. Yeah, you want to... I do remember, like, you want to check everything twice, because you can get to a lot of stuff. There were sheets of paper all over the kitchen table. It looked like a series of names were written down, but they were too smudged to read. I can only make out a few of the notes. Key card. Ocker. Last one, I promise. It didn't make much sense at the time. Smell of old dishes and moldy food was dizzying. Is that how you spell moldy? Moldy? It's a mouse. So I don't guess there's anything else in here. So I think this game was... Let's say there's a door over there, but I want to go look over here because I don't remember if we did that. I didn't go in here either. I think this game was free or very cheap on the PS4 store, which is why I got it. And yeah, like I said, I remember it being decent. So the bathroom was spotless. Everything had been wiped to a sheen. I wondered if it was the man's wife who did the cleaning or him. There was a photo development tray lying on the floor. Some leftover negatives were sticking out, but they were pretty blurry. I thought I saw what looked like treetops. It seemed odd that the tray had been left there, considering how clean the rest of the bathroom was. Need someone to come clean my bathroom. The front door was blocked by a pile of furniture. I knew I had to find another way out. Okay. Switch in the wall appeared to have unlocked the door. The box looked heavy, but there were marks on the floor. It had obviously been moved before. Maybe I had found a way out. I must have moved it right. I heaved the box forward and it finally gave. I was afraid I was going to fall down the ladder for some reason. There was a ladder going underground where the box was. A dank smell rose from the passage. Did I climb down the ladder? Yeah, nothing bad happens down ladders. I looked again at the photo I found in the house. The couple looked distant, like they didn't want to be in the same picture. I wondered where the wife was. My leg was in terrible shape, but I had to get out. This boxes would have allowed me to climb up the ladder again, but I didn't want to go back up there, not with all that body, all that blood. I knew I needed to take a look around. Footprints in the dirt. Looked more than one kind and a lot of traffic. Whatever this place was, it was obviously used a lot. Places all over were marked on the old map of town, the industrial area near the river, various houses, and even the water tower near the old rail station. The guy upstairs must have done this, but what was his interest in the water tower? Some of the markings matched scribbles I saw on the bookshelf upstairs. Newspaper clippings from the local paper. They were all about murders in towns over the last few years. Wait. There were photos. Photos of our house. What the hell was that about? Maybe I should have looked around more, tried to find some kind of information. Oh, Rachel, please be okay. I wanted to rush home, but I had to find a way out first, and I needed to see what else was down here. A work table, covered in papers, dirt, and a handgun. I hated guns. I didn't take it, did I? Yes. I took the small handgun into my pocket. Its weight was somehow reassuring. Why did I take the gun? Because I hit triangle. It was so dark down there, and the air smelled stale and putrid. I couldn't believe what I saw. What was this place? The desk looked old and was caked with grime. On it was a stack of old, faded paper, covered with what looked like names. They were scratched out, and illegible notes were written beside them in faded blue ink. I could only make out a few letters. Yeah. None of it made any sense to me. Nothing about Rachel or me was written there. Maybe I needed to keep looking. So there's a door there. Some kind of homemade rack, slung together with poorly cut wood and rope. It was caked with old blood. Somebody didn't actually use that, did they? The smell in that room was like old grease and rot. I wasn't getting any closer to finding anything useful. Rusted hooks, like the kind you'd find a butcher, hung from the ceiling. They looked pitted and worn from heavy use. That man upstairs, did he do this? Oh, I didn't mean to hit that one again. I was getting more nauseated the longer I stayed there. I felt sick and weak, like I hadn't eaten for days. Crudely made shelves. They looked like they were holding cans of some kind of corrosive. The labels were worn and slick, but I could still see the warnings. The slight fumes that still emanated from the cans made me dizzy. No, I don't want to go down the ladder yet. I want to go back up. It looked like a cage. It was small, but there was something coating the bottom. Something wet. That place was getting worse all the time. I knew I had to keep moving. So let's go check that door first. I like the art style, the like Microsoft Paint style. There looked to be bones half dug into the ground, and the remains looked old. The faded clothes that stuck up amongst the dirt looked familiar. They looked like the clothes that woman was wearing in the photo I found. Was this the man's wife? I wondered, what would I have found if I had dug deeper? Maybe I should have grabbed that shovel. So, anyway, but yeah, I like the animation. It's kind of cool. So, and even like the outside of the flashlight is very gritty and like it actually works. So, some kind of old boxes. They looked like they were years old. Wait a minute. These boxes had old clothes in them. Clothes I remember throwing out after Rachel and I moved to town. What the hell were they doing there? If I was scared before, I was terrified now. Why were there photos of our house there? And these clothes? Was that why I was there? I checked my back pocket and realized my wallet was missing. Did I come to that house or did somebody bring me? I was like, what is making that noise? I don't like it. I remember noticing the broken ladder. I had to be careful. Okay, I was like, can I walk over it at least? There was a rope hanging there. I wasn't sure how sturdy it was. Did I take it? Yeah, because I'm not going down a broken ladder. Maybe that rope would make the broken ladder easier to descend. What? You might need to run that by me again, but there's totally a skeleton back there. That's real, oh. I had the rope now, there must have been a use for it around somewhere. That's creepy. I'm going. The rope I found would have let me climb down the broken ladder safely. Did I climb down? Yes. I could hear a faint hum, and the smell from before started to get worse. Ladder was too high to reach. I must have tried to find a way out from where I was. So it's like almost like you're in the future telling this story. Like, oh, did I take that? Yeah. A bunch of old newspapers, wheat pasted together. A message had been hastily smeared on it. Keep out. Danger due to cave in. I wanted nothing more than to get out of there. There's nothing in this room. Well, these doors are different. I could still feel a faint impression of the rope I had slid down as I pressed against the heavy metal door. It was probably for the best that I hadn't jumped. That ache in my leg was bad enough as it was. If I could have, though, I would have run straight out of those awful tunnels. Who would keep such a place? At least, I thought, I had found that old handgun. Excuse me. It seemed to work, and from the smell of it, it had been used already. Maybe that's where that skeleton came from. I don't want to think about it. I kept the gun in my pocket. It seemed a familiar weight there. An exposed ventilation shaft. Maybe somebody crawled through there. But it was so high up that it must have been a sore landing. There was dirt on the ground. It looked wet, and there was grass smeared within it. Odd, there was similar dirt on my own shoes. Odd indeed. We'll explore through the doors, and then we'll climb and see about the ladder. I could hear a faint trickling sound, like water. What was that? So there's an exit. There was a rusty ladder sunk into the water which smelled disgusting. I knew I couldn't climb down that. Maybe I could find a way to drain the putrid water. So okay, yeah, I do remember this part. A kitchen knife, covered in drying blood. Thinking about it made me sick. I didn't even want to touch it. But I did. I slipped the knife in my boot since I had the gun in my pocket. Did I really need all this? I don't like all these noises. The door was locked. There was a musty smell from inside. I do remember, though, I don't think, like, even if there's, like, a locked door or something, there's always a way to get into it. So, we'll do a little exploring. I wasn't sure, but I thought it was some kind of regulator. I had no idea how it worked. Through the dust, I could see handprints from previous use, probably from whoever worked in those sewers. I thought I could turn this water valve to shut off its flow. Did I turn it? Okay. Turn it off. It's still making noise. There we go. Squeaky noise. There we go. Alright, it sounds like we've got the water off. Good for us. Okay. So now we can head back. So this door is still locked right here, right? Yeah. So let's do... So we need to go... Let's check that ladder. Because the exit is where we need to go. Disgusting. It was a mess of filthy garbage bags. There were rips and tears in most of the bags. What looked like an old videotape was sticking out. Did I take the tape? I wasn't sure what I hoped to discover with the tape, but I took it anyway. And so for those of you who are too young to know, before DVDs, we had things called VHS tapes. So they were about yay long and about that thick. So I did not want to keep digging through this mess. And if you have certain ones, they're worth a ton of money, apparently. So, okay, so we couldn't go through that locked door. I guess we can climb down the ladder. Looked like the water drained out of that grate in the wall. There was a small metal key left floating in the shallow pool of raised water. Did I take it? I pocketed the small key, but it was so odd-shaped I had no idea what it might open. So let's go check that locked door real quick. Because that might be... that might be what it's for. Door was low. Oh, apparently that's not it. Well, okay then. We will continue on. No comment on that. Like the mud trickling down the wall. That's not weird or anything. The safety poster had definitely seen better days. How old was that facility? Door was locked. I could see a faint light within. Really? So the key I picked up doesn't unlock either of those doors? Let's see. There was a security camera in the room. There must have been a way to see what had happened. Maybe the VHS tape I found could be useful. Couldn't help but wonder if someone was watching me from the other side. Dun, dun, dun. Another dead body. A Sarah worker, but the wounds all over his face and body. I figured he'd been stabbed repeatedly. Probably from that knife that we're carrying. There was a key ring sticking out of the man's pocket. Did I take it? Thought about the knife I had found with some disgust as I carefully picked up the keys from his pocket. Exactly. I was almost worried he was going to grab me. That would have been awful. I feel like even more sick from seeing another dead man. I didn't want to get any more blood on my clothes. Yeah, that's the real problem. Okay, so we got 2 keys now. So let's go back and check both those doors. Oh, okay. The shelf full of security tapes was strictly organized, though covered in dust. Looked like the tape I found was the one that was missing from the shelf. I wonder what was on the tape and why it was thrown out. There was a dusty VCR on the security desk. I wondered what was on that VHS tape I found. Did I play the tape? Oh no. The video showed a man right there in the sewers being attacked. The tape looked fuzzy and stretched, like somebody had tampered with it. It looked like there could have been 2 men. Couldn't stand to watch that video again. Okay. Alright, well that's yeah, super creepy. I don't know where the key to that other locked room is, but, well, it's a mystery. I can smell a hint of fresh air here. I must have been finally getting out of that strange facility, but I wondered, did that key I found on the sewer worker open anything else? Oh, maybe. I mean, I guess we could go try it. It's a full key ring, so that would make sense, wouldn't it? So he'll kind of remind you, or you'll remind you. I don't know. Faded paper was yellow and dusty, but there had obviously been wiped off recently. So I guess let's go do that. And so yeah, it should be this one right over here. I tried a bunch of the keys on the keyring I had found on that serial worker, and one of them seemed to fit. A collection of stale liquor bottles covered the floor. That room didn't seem like much of a place for drinking. What was the point? The wall was littered with dozens of old faded papers. Whoever did this was obsessed with some local murders. According to some of the clippings, bodies had been found in ravines in the forest, and in one case, dumped in the back of an abandoned truck. I couldn't be sure, but I thought some of these articles had also been pasted up back in those tunnels. Did that sewer worker find this room? Is this why he was killed? A faded receipt was half trampled on the floor. It was from the local train station. It was for 2 tickets. I didn't know what use it could be, but did I keep the receipt? Sure. I neatly folded the soiled receipt and slipped it into my front pocket. The entire room was a mess. Okay, so yeah, okay, cool. So we're good. We've explored everything we need to down here. Excuse me. That was not necessary. Oh, that's not cool. Okay. So we've been in there. Alright. This must have been the other end of that ventilation shaft. Whoever used it could have gotten past that flooded room with this. Sorry. Clever, but why go through all the trouble? Would I need that gun or that knife before the end? Both weighed me down and aggravated my leg as I climbed that old ladder. The thought of that videotape still gave me chills. Who was it that didn't want to be seen? Was it the same person that hid all those clippings away in that locked room? Suddenly, the awful smell of the sewer gave way to a pine-scented blast of fresh air. What is that? No, you go away. Slender Man. Actually, Slender Man didn't have eyes, so that makes no sense. So, hint, hint, that might be a game coming out soon. And by soon, I mean I've already done it once, but I need to redo it, so yeah. I don't like the noise that those gates make. An old ladder leading up to the ancient water tower. The ladder needed to be extended so I could climb it. Did I extend the ladder? Yes. I popped the latch and brought the ladder down. More bats. In a patch of smeared dirt and grass, there was a beat-up old wallet. I thought it was mine. Did I take it? I slid the filthy wallet into my back pocket. I noticed it didn't contain any kind of gun permit. That's random. In fact, it didn't contain any cards or ID of any kind. I thought I should recover my credit card and driver's license at least. From the railing, I could see over the woods and down to the entrance of the sewers. Had I come through there before? If I did, someone definitely could have seen me. It was getting cool up here, and I shivered with an uneasy sense of what was to come. How did I get home from here? So our wallet was up on the water tower for some reason. Weird. There's those eyes again. I don't know. I tried the little key I had fished out of the murky puddle in the sewers. It fit, and I heaved open the rusty door. Seriously, I don't like that noise. The wind was picking up a bit. The night air had become strangely chilly. Nope. I was like, what is that? There are leaves. So, okay, let's go back this way. Okay. The old train station was quiet as a tomb. The only sound was that of the increasing wind buffeting, I think. Striking the decrepit structure. Let's go this way. So there's a door that way. Let's see what's over here. And, oh, let's go to this one. And stop periodically just to check the ceiling, just in case. Okay. An old ticket booth that looked fairly ruined. Inside the ticket window were sheets of paper and... Wait, what were these? Train receipts? I thought the receipt I'd picked up might match these, but of course not. The station had been closed for years. The ticket must have been for the newer station that opened up on the other side of town after this one was abandoned. However, I noticed a series of fresher-looking paper covered in tiny notes, scribbles, and diagrams. It's like someone had been leafing through the old ledgers looking for something. A name, perhaps? Was it? Okay, yeah. Creepy old train station. Okay, what's over here? A big old board. An old map encased in glass hung on the wall. It was the train routes connected to that old station, but as I looked at it, it seemed familiar. Of course! The map I had found in those tunnels had similar locations marked, and the notes I found on the other man's bookshelf. His notes mentioned the water tower and even this train yard. What was he doing coming back here? The sorry condition of that place seems sad somehow, but also ominous. Yeah, seems like it. Okay, so I guess we'll go through here. We're back outside. The eyes! Go away! I don't have time for you. Well, that's creepy old, like, train. The old train was ripped open, and hanging from a shred of metal, as well as the broken fence, was a dark stained patch of cloth. It looked synthetic, like some kind of outerwear. Inside the train shell, I could see a few faint impacts, like wounds. Could they have been bullet marks? Was somebody shot there? The ground was well worn, though I couldn't really make anything out. I realized I was touching the gun I found as I thought. Creepy. It was getting colder out there, and I had to keep moving. So you can start kind of like formulating opinions and ideas of what's really going on here. But is it what we actually think it is? Maybe. I don't know. I don't remember is more accurate. So, okay, well, I think we're done here. It gives me a chill. It's weird. Like a... Sounds so ominous and final. This must have been the entrance to the forest that was mentioned on that map I had seen. Whoever was poking around in those tunnels underneath that man's house had scribbled notes on this place, but I couldn't make them out. Here the sign pointed out various campsites and walking paths within the woods. It mentioned a river and maybe a washroom, but the rest was too faded to see clearly. Does that mean that I'm going to have to collect pages? Because I don't want to do that. I almost wish I had paid more attention to those crazy scribblings. Maybe I would have been less nervous about entering that dark forest. So there's like a little bush. What are you doing up there? Let's go through the first one. This part's like kind of maze-like. Okay, nothing over there. Trampled into the dirt and grass was a plastic card of some kind. I brushed it off and was surprised to see it was my credit card. I wasn't sure if it was still usable, but it was mine. Did I take my credit card back? Yeah, of course. I pocketed the credit card. Hopefully I could find my driver's license, too. There's another... Through the fence I could see a dilapidated outbuilding. I wondered if I could find my way around. Okay, so let's go through this one. I'm just trying to remember which ones we've gone through and which ones we haven't. So there's 2 exits here. No. Stop. There was a fire pit there. It was still a bit warm and a few embers still burned at the bottom. Was someone else out in these woods? Why did they abandon their campsite? Oh. 2 folding camping chairs were on the ground. One was knocked over. There were a couple of cans of beer spilled on the ground. Whoever was here left this place in a hurry, but why? The cheap dome tent slept 2 people. I shone my flashlight inside and could see some bedrolls, 2 backpacks, and a cooler. I felt like if I kept running around through the campsite, someone would walk in on me. Yeah, it's time to leave. So we went through the middle one. Let's go to the left. That noise needs to stop. It's creeping me out. There were some personal effects shoved back into the rock. Wait, there was a notebook there too. Did I read it? Inside the cheap dollar store notebook was page after worn page of names and lists. None of it had made much sense. The newest page contained several names. Heather, Olivia, Ashley, Cheryl, Iris, Daphne, Holly, Rose, Rachel. Oh, Holly's my wife's name. But I should be more concerned at this point about Rachel because that's my character's wife's name. I or I assume is his wife. Rachel? Her name was last on the list and had a mark beside it in blue ink. The names Daphne and Olivia had been crossed out in the same blue ink. Cheryl, Heather, and Rose had also been crossed out, but these marks looked older and more faded. Did that mean Holly made it? Because I don't remember seeing her name. Good for you, babe. Alright, well, we'll go back through here. And we'll check the right path. No, 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 no. Don't look. Yeah. We're gonna go in against our better judgment. The grimy sink had a small patch in it that looked almost clean. There wasn't much in the way of clean water there, but the sink did work. A musty wooden plank propped up the stall door. It didn't seem really useful. Did I bother to take it? I wasn't sure why, but I took the plank and stuck it into my pocket. I don't even know. It's like in Zelda. You get like tons and tons of items that you have like nowhere to put them, but somehow you have them anyway. Let's see what happens when we go through here. The sign was the same as the first one I had seen. This must have been the exit to the other side of the woods. So, okay, I think that is where we need to go. So let's go back, and we'll explore that other path that we did not take. Yeah, the middle. This one, right? Yeah, okay, because that was it. Okay, yeah, I don't think we went this way. A dry old picnic table sat lonely amongst the trees. It had carvings and marks from years of previous campers. As I tried to read some of the names and the marks, I idly thumbed the knife I'd found. If I wanted to, I could have carved something on that table. Did I? Yeah, why not? With a few crude strokes, I etched a simple design into the wood. R plus H. So, I don't know what his name is. Maybe his name is Home. I don't know. I felt like a teenager, defacing the table. I read some of the other names and notes on the table surface. Rytron, I don't know. Uncle Phil! Henry Daniel. I wonder if those are like developers or maybe friends of the developer or something. It seemed like the table had seen a lot of use over the years. The plank I found was long enough to form a crude bridge, but I wasn't sure if it would hold. Did I use it? Yeah, why not? No. Okay. Two bodies, two young women, were half dug into a hasty, shallow grave between the trees. The younger-looking one was still face up, her dead eyes gleaming against my flashlight. They deserve better than that. Did I clean up the gravesite? Sure. I tried to cover them up a bit more than I closed the younger woman's eyes. I fashioned a crude marker. I wasn't sure why, but I felt I had to do something. The girls weren't carrying ID, so I couldn't determine their names. I only hoped that whoever had done this had done it quickly. I wondered now if they had a phone or something at their campsite. Maybe I could call for help. So, I'm wondering, I don't know, maybe if they were like some of the names that were on the list or something, like the two that were recently crossed out. So, I guess we'll try to go back to their campsite and see. No, I decided to stay there forever. In the scary woods with the two dead ladies. I'm good. I'm not scared, you're scared. Alright, and then it was one of these, because that's the outhouse. No, this is their campsite. Let's see, the inside of that tent was suffocating. Olivia, Daphne? Yeah, that was two of the names. The looks of it, the fire hadn't been extinguished, it had just died out over time. So, okay. So I guess they are two of the names that were in that list. Isn't that delightful? Super fun. The right one? That's the outhouse thing. Yeah, okay. I'd finally found the exit. Once I left, I knew I never wanted to return there. The forest started to thin out a bit, and through the trees I could make out parts of the town beyond, and the first hints of light. The mysteries of that forest were behind me, but I could still feel them on my neck like a warm breath. Those girls I had found, someone had taken them from their campsite and murdered them. Was it the same person who had left that odd notebook? I was even more eager to get somewhere safe, and to find a way to reach Rachel. So yeah, I mean, it's like, all the signs kind of point to our character, but maybe I'm just making assumptions here, I don't know. I'm just checking above me periodically, you know, no reason. Don't mind me. As I stepped through the gate, I suddenly recognized the auto parts factory where I had worked as a machinist for all those years. The plant had closed almost 3 years ago now. Times were better then. I thought I could hear a faint rustling behind me. Maybe it was just the wind. Let's go through the big gaping hole in the fence. I found the body of a security guard just doing his job, no doubt. His face was covered with blood from some kind of head wound. I wondered, was this flashlight his? That's a random thought to have. Saw the blunt wound on the guard's head and looked again at the flashlight I was carrying. Oh no, please. Dug into the ground was a cracked old watch. First my wallet, and now this. Did I retrieve my watch? The watch was useless, but I put it on my wrist anyway. Wish I could remember, why was all my stuff missing? Okay. Alright, I'm just making sure there wasn't anything else on him. Dang. No, I meant to hit the door. Okay, there we go. Like, that's better, but not a whole lot. Okay, I was just wanting to make sure that like the door didn't lock behind me, because that was creepy. We'll go upstairs here in a second. One of the lockers hung open. Its contents were tossed around like someone had been looking for something. Old work clothes had been picked through, and a few notes and photos had been ripped off the door and spread around. The door was locked shut, and there was a little electronic box under the handle. A sign was pasted to the front that said, "Danger, closed for repairs." There was a large power box with 5 lights on it. Cables burst out of the box, snaking off to other parts of the factory. The metal was starting to wear, and cobwebs had collected on the corners. The box wasn't receiving power. Door was locked tight, seemed to connect to the power box beside. So I guess we had to turn these on. So we will go upstairs. Every part of this plant smelled old and rotted. I noticed the old bulletin board on the wall. Well, let's look at it. Oh no! Let's try that again. The board contained yellowed clippings of newspaper cartoons and notices. There were notes to and from the guys that worked here. One of them was to Norman, who was one of the older guys on the line. Norm! Norman took over a general store after the factory closed. He, Rachel, and I would get lunch every now and then. Rachel liked him because he seemed more positive despite the setback. I don't think she could say this. I could say the same thing about me. A power panel. Looks like it was shut off. Did I push the switch? Power panel still wasn't working. Okay, so the green is good. The open locker was stuffed with dirty work clothes and old boots. There was a photo of a woman taped on the inside, but it was scratched out and the face was unrecognizable. That woman's photo. I knew I had to get back to Rachel to find out what happened. So. Yeah. Oh. It was shut tight. There's a rusty looking card slot on the side. Okay. Let's go back this way. And we came from down in there, so let's... Our old break table. The layer of dust and grime only made seeing this sting more. Looked like some beer bottles had been used on the table recently. I wondered, was that guard using this as a break room of his own? Yeah, you know, because security guards just love hanging out in abandoned old plants. The door had been hastily boarded up. So, but that won't stop us, probably. This was Norman's locker. The door was dented like someone had punched it. I don't remember him doing that when we worked here. My head ached, and I recalled the last time Norman, Rachel, and I'd all had lunch together. Rachel seemed so much more at ease when we all hung out. A utility shelf crammed with mismatched tools and items. There was a claw hammer on the shelf. Did I take the hammer? Sure. So I took the hammer. I noticed it wasn't as dusty as the rest of the tools on the shelf. Let's explore back here and we'll go see what we can do. The locker was a complete mess. Hidden at the bottom though was a magnetic card. Did I take the card? Sure. I slipped the key card into my pocket. For the musty smell, I assume no one had used this locker for a long time. I mean, because the thing's been abandoned for years, apparently. Okay, it's still not on. Still not on. There we go. Come on. Yeah. I think that was 5. So, let's go continue on. Back through here. And, let's see. I struck with the hammer. The old wooden boards. Someone else here? My heart's racing. I don't like that. I don't remember a lot of this game. I struck with the hammer. The old wooden boards came apart easily. After I had removed the planks, I left the hammer on the floor. Really? Yeah. So someone could follow you and hit you with it. Maybe that security guard wasn't dead. This was my locker there in the factory. It stank of booze. There was a picture of Rachel on the inside. It looked like it had been torn up. I thought I had taken that picture home when the factory closed. This room was nothing but bad memories. There was a mess of empty booze bottles. I wondered if that man in the house had something to do with this. He sure had a lot of alcohol at his place. Maybe that guard outside caught him hiding up here. Okay. So that was the table that way. So there was a slot for a magnetic card here, right? I don't like it. The key card I found seemed like it would pass through this reader. Did I use the key card? Sure. Slid the card through the old reader and turn the handle. Door had somehow locked itself again. There was no key card slot on the side. Yeah, that's not awful at all. There was some kind of ventilation there. It looked like I'd jumped to the room below. My leg hurt enough as it was, but I couldn't see another option. Did I jump? Oh. Oh man, my leg hurt like hell. Oh, we're limping like... No worse. It looked like we were... There was a crumpled up letter on the floor. It had been scratched out heavily and was hard to make out. Did I try to read the letter? Most of the letter was violently scratched out with what looked to be a ballpoint pen. All I could make out was, need to, just don't, drinking, need, Norman. Who was Norman writing to? I stepped out of the factory, glad to be rid of its smell, of its memories. I couldn't stop thinking about the room with the bottles in it. Was that guard I found outside really drinking up there? What about Norman? And who had rooted through all those lockers? I couldn't tell where I was as I looked around, but I needed to figure out... I figured I needed to get to a road, get my bearings. Maybe Norman could help. His store wasn't that far from the turnoff to the factory, if I remembered correctly. You again! If you're gonna do something, you need to do it. Or don't, actually, that would be fine. Hate that noise. The garbage man was a disgusting mess of rotten food and slick black bags. I saw a thin greenish corner poking out from one of the bags. It was my driver's license. It looked damaged, but did I take it back? Of course. I cleaned the card off as best I could. It looked pretty beat up. I was amazed to have found my credit card and now this. I tucked the card into my wallet next to my credit card. Did somebody steal this from me? I wonder why they would have stashed it there. Sounded like, I was like, why is my controller vibrating? Sounded like it was going to start raining again. I had entered Norman's place. This was the back of the store that he ran. It was oddly quiet except for the faint sound of a television. The entrance to the front of the store was locked from the inside. It looked like I couldn't just pop it open and needed a key. There was a bit of blood on the keyhole. No thanks. What the hell? One of Rachel's old autumn coats hung on a rack. That was Norman's bedroom, wasn't it? What was this doing there? A speck of something dark and wet stained one of the sleeves. Inside the cabinet was a small but impressive collection of hunting rifles, shotguns, and even a few items I didn't think were legal here. One of the slots on the rack was empty. The gun I had found seemed to match the others there. If the handgun was Norman's, what the hell was he doing with it? The gun would fit there. Did I place it back in the cabinet? I think I'm going to keep it, actually. It's kind of nice to hit circle instead of triangle. Though it weighed on me, I had a hard time parting with the weapon just then. Norman, what are you doing with all these? What are you doing with my wife's coat? More blood. Exciting. What was this? It looked like a pull chain hanging from the ceiling. I wonder where it led. Yeah, why not? I gave the chain a single tug and a simple folding ladder to the attic popped down. What are those? They look creepy. There was a large cardboard box that hadn't been sealed. Did I open it? The old cardboard box was stuffed with... Wait, they were Rachel's things. Old clothes, photos? What were these doing in Norman's place? And where was Norman? I had to find him. I couldn't remember if we'd given these to Norman for safekeeping or something, but why would we? Storming outside. Yeah, this is getting sinister and darker by the minute. The TV still flickered some indecipherable channel. Couldn't make out what was on the screen, but that glow just gave me the chills. Oh, you know what? And the fact that there's a guy laying here. Oh no, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Norman, my coworker and one of the few friends I had in this town, lay dead beside his armchair. His face and shirt were covered in blood. It looked like he'd been shot trying to get up. His eyes were still wide with shock. Norman, you bastard, what were you doing here with Rachel? Did she do this to you? Did you hurt her? Norman, maybe you deserve better. Maybe not. Did I close his eyes? Sure. Gently, I pushed his eyelids down. I wasn't sure oh, typo. I wasn't sure if wanted to give him peace, or if I just couldn't stand to look at him anymore. I hoped to hell Rachel had nothing to do with that mess. I guess this was Norman's kitchen table. He kept it clean enough, but there were water rings from 2 cups still there in the wood. I'd never been to Norman's place before. At least I didn't remember ever doing so. The kitchen trash bin smelled fresh. I didn't dig through that mess, did I? Of course. We've done worse in this game already. I found a hairpin amongst the rotting food and trash and pocketed it. There were takeout containers and food scraps. Looked like Norman was eating for 2. Or was he? Really, there's nothing in the fridge. You don't want to check the fridge? Wheel of Fortune! Or, I don't know. Doesn't seem like it's been a very fortunate experience for us, or anybody else we've encountered. I used the hairpin to pick the lock. The hairpin snapped in half, so I threw it away. The general store was small, but it was clean. It had the usual things: postcards, snacks, magazines, and canned goods. I never went there much. Rachel usually stopped by after work if we needed anything. The register was mostly empty, and a fat stack of travel magazines sat beside it. I wondered if someone had robbed the place before killing Norman upstairs. Maybe. Is that an ice cream bin? The icebox seemed to be unplugged. It must have been off for a while. Most of its contents were half melted. What's the matter, Norman? Cheated on your hydro bills, too? Hydro bills? Okay. There were various postcards from the area, especially from the tourist traps. One of the postcards showed an old black and white photo of the water tower. It looked to be in much better shape then. Of all the postcards, that one seemed to be the most popular. There were only a few left. The night continued to take horrible turn after horrible turn. It had been weeks since I'd last seen Norman, but to find him like that. As I thought of him lying on the floor, or still lying on the floor back there, the gun I carried seemed ever present. Seeing that dusty box of those old clothes was a shock. How long had they been there? And what was Rachel doing at Norman's place? I felt like I'd only discovered more questions, no answers, but I was close to home. It was time to find out the truth. It's locked. This wasn't the right gate. Not your house. Okay, so that's the one. I'm gonna go back out just... Oh, never mind. I was like, I don't know if there's anything else to explore there or what, but... Oh, well, it doesn't matter, I guess. Okay, not my house. The neighborhood's local post box. The letter was sticking out as if someone hadn't pushed it all the way in. I knew it wasn't right, but did I look at the letter? Yeah, we're in this deep. The envelope was addressed to Norman. There was no return address, but the handwriting looked familiar. I took a deep breath and tore open the package. Norman, I'm sending this to you in a letter because I'm afraid to tell you this in person. What we did, well, it was wrong. My husband isn't an easy man to be with, but he is my husband and your friend. I need some time to sort this out, away from you both. I'm going away for a while. I'm going to tell him, Norman, so don't you think you can hold it against me. Maybe we'll work it out. I'm not sure I even want to, but he deserves at least that much. Goodbye. I didn't know what to think. My mind was racing, my heart pounding. I had to get home. I just had to. Yeah. It sure seems like there's someone with some explaining to do. I had entered our backyard. The rain gave me a terrible sense of foreboding and it chilled me through my clothes. I was expectant, but also afraid. I held my breath as I approached our back door. I was terrified to step inside. But we have to. The house was painfully quiet. The only sound was my own breathing, ragged and strained. I flicked the light switch by the door. The power was off. Well, because of course it was. No way I was going to walk away from this now. Okay, so we're back in our house. I remembered having breakfast here on this very table. Was that yesterday or some time before? The table was clean. It hadn't been used any time recently. The door to the basement was locked. Where did I put the damn key? Who locks their, basement unless you got something to hide down there? There was a small pile of mail on the floor in front of the mail slot. How long had I been away? Why hadn't Rachel picked this up? Most of the contents were bills. There was a credit card bill there. Did I open it? Yeah, why not? I ripped the bill open and read it. To my surprise, it said something about canceling my credit card due to non-payment. What the hell? Front door was locked from inside. I couldn't go out, though. I needed to see if Rachel was here. So, okay, it's locked from the inside. I mean, that's a good reason, I guess. Door was stuck shut. There was an old-fashioned keyhole underneath the handle. Man, that's my own house. Why are there so many locked doors in my own house? I'd found the last missing piece from my wallet. The old photo of Rachel and I stared back at me, reminding me of better times. It didn't make me feel terribly comfortable. Did I keep it anyway? Yeah. I replaced the photo in my wallet, feeling like I had got part of my life back. Still, the image made me uneasy. Why had I thrown it away? Our television. I had purchased it before I knew I was going to lose my job. I felt pretty guilty about it afterward, but by then it was too late. Rachel was pretty angry about that, I realized. I guess we'll go upstairs. It is really quiet. I don't like it. The books there were half mine, half Rachel's. Hey, now that I look more closely, it looked like the man in that house had some of the same books as I did. Wonder what that means. One book in particular seemed a bit odd. I remembered owning it, but not that edition. My wife's, Rachel's suitcase was sitting on the bed. It was closed, but I had a feeling what was in it. Did I open it? Inside Rachel's suitcase were a few days' worth of clothes, some personal effects, and a train ticket. As I stared at the ticket, I could feel myself flush with anger and resentment. The date and time matched the receipt I had found. Rachel, why? Were you really going to run away with Norman? Was I really such a monster? Our hallway mirror had been smashed, its pieces scattered around the floor. I couldn't really make myself out anymore. I wasn't sure I wanted to. Our sink, which needed to be replaced. One of the taps always stuck, but I hadn't gotten around to fixing it yet. That old house was charming for sure, but it wasn't always easy. We were lucky enough to get a house with one of those wonderful old claw-footed bathtubs. It seemed impractical at times, but it was part of what made that house home. My laptop had been left on and only had a tiny bit of power left. On the screen was a website about the old water tower. There was a key in the top drawer of my desk. Did I take it? I pocketed the key. I guess we'll look at that again. The laptop was warm. It had been running for a while. My laptop's running. Good. And looks like we're still going over there. Good. So there were a couple of locked doors. So the front door, which is probably not the one we need, but we'll check this room over here. Door was stuck shut, old-fashioned keyhole. Okay, so it must be the basement. Unlock the basement door. There were old Christmas decorations in the box. I couldn't even remember our last Christmas. The garbage bags were stuffed with old paint cans and supplies. There was a dirty old key here. Did I take the key? Yes. Took the small key and tried to remember what it unlocked. Probably the room above us, if I were guessing. There were old clothes, tools, and other things we obviously hadn't thrown out yet. We had way too much junk. Doesn't everybody? I had put up this divider wall last summer so we could create a separate room in the basement. I hadn't finished it yet, so the door was stuck and the drywall was poorly installed. I might have been able to break through if I found something heavy enough. Okay. So let's go see if we can unlock that door up above us. Grabbing a key I had found in the basement unlocked the door. Cool. It looked like the room had been tossed around. The furniture was a mess. Did somebody break in here? There was an old crowbar on the floor. Did I need to take the crowbar? Sure. I lifted the heavy crowbar. I appreciated its weight. I guess that's all that's in here. Yeah, the furniture is all over the place. Yeah. We can destroy that. Did I break through the wall with the crowbar? With a heave, I swung the crowbar at the wall. I smashed a hole large enough to step through. As I stepped through the broken wall, my breath caught in my throat. This was it. Was Rachel down here? Was she okay? Don't look. Well, alright then, guys. It's been... Lots of blood. More don't look. A filthy-looking pile of rags had been dumped in the corner. The stench of them was awful and made my eyes water. I was terrified to even touch the pile to say what lay within, but I knew I had to. I'd come this far. After all this searching, after all I had seen, when I looked within the rags, did I finally find my Rachel? Nope, no. I feel like everything kind of leads up to this point, and that's probably, yeah. Wrapped within the filthy rags, pale and still, was Rachel. She was covered in fading bruises and what looked like cuts. Her chest was a horrible mess of blood and dirt. I couldn't bear to look at it. The knife in my boot, the gun in my pocket, were they the tools of her murder? I thought about all I had seen and wondered if any of it could help me figure out who had done this. And when I couldn't stay there any longer, I stepped away on shaky legs and made my way back upstairs. Reluctantly, exhausted from my journey, I could no longer resist the urge to close my eyes. Hey, this is how the game started. But now we're in our own room. Maybe I would use some of Rachel's travel books and find some place to go. No matter what, I needed some kind of escape. It's my wallet with its contents intact. Either I dropped that stuff or somebody else did. Maybe I was sleepwalking again, or maybe somebody stole it from me. Norman's store, that forest, the water tower. Was I at those places before? Yeah, and see how it could have happened any other way. I must have been the one to lose my wallet and its contents. But what does that mean? There, that was decided. This was the old photo of that other man and his wife, I assumed. I found it in that house. I recalled those faded remains I had found deep underneath his house. What had he done here? There. Well, what did I think? Was this man involved somehow in the whole mess? Yeah, I think somehow he had to have been. Definitely those tunnels, the odd tools in his house, and the remains of his wife. He wasn't innocent, that's for sure. But who had killed him? Within the few broken pieces that remained of that mirror, I could see my face had grown pale and weak. I couldn't bear to look again. It was like I didn't actually expect a reflection. I felt empty and drained. Perhaps I would never know how this mirror came to be broken. Was it by Rachel's assailant, or by Rachel herself? The thought lingered and would haunt me forever. The reflection in that grimy glass was only a shadow, a whisper. The quiet in that room unnerved me terribly. I still loved the old-time charm of that claw-footed bathtub, though it seemed like cold comfort then. Rachel loved this part of the house. It was the key card I found in the factory, the one that allowed me to slip through that door. It seemed to me that it was probably Norman's, but if that was true, what was he doing back at the plant? Did I think Norman was going back to the factory? I mean, I guess he had to have. It must have been him. He must have been using the old locker room. I'd made up my mind. The laptop had finally run out of power. How long had it been left running? Let's see. It was the letter I had taken from the postbox. Rachel, were you really having an affair with Norman? But why? I didn't think things were that bad. In the letter, Rachel seemed concerned. She almost seemed worried of what Norman might do. Did he do that? Do Rachel? I don't know. Like, it almost seems like maybe, but it seems more like we are the ones who did it. So I'm gonna say no. Norman may have betrayed me, but I didn't think he was capable of that. I hated him. I hated him so much, but I couldn't blame him for what happened to my wife. I don't think, yeah. From now on, I'd have no one to get angry with me for stupid things like buying this TV. Yeah, see, there's that flare-up. Thinking about things like that made me sick with grief. I know what to think. I just wanted to put this whole mess behind me. My old office safe sat on the floor. I used to keep tax records and other important documents in it. I used a digital passcode lock, but I didn't have the code. Maybe I had left it somewhere. I leafed through the notebooks I had taken from the forest. In it were the names that had been written down. Heather, Olivia, Ashley, Cheryl, Iris, Dabney, Holly, Rose, Rachel. Those poor girls, were they victims of the same person who had killed Rachel? I wonder what happened to the other names on the list, or the ones scratched down on the desk that were in the wet tunnels. The man in the house, was he responsible? When I woke up, I had found him dead already. So we need to unlock that safe somehow. I want to say it was something about the laptop, but I could be wrong, so I'm going to go look at it just real quick. Laptop was dead, but I found some notes and loose paper in the drawer where I'd found the key. There was a yellow sticky note with a 8-digit code on it. Yes, because I don't want to memorize it. The code looked like it might be for the safe, but what kind of phrase was that? Exactly. So we'll go look in the safe. The code I found should have let me access the safe. Did I try to open it? The code worked. I pulled open the small safe door and peered inside. There was a photo in there of Rachel and I when we had first moved to town. In it, we were smiling outside the front of the house, which looked like a real mess. We looked happy, though. Odd, I couldn't remember who took that photo. Inside the safe was also an envelope. In front of it read, "Do not open until I tell you." I guess this was as good a time as any to see what was inside. Did I open the envelope and read what was inside? Yeah. Tore open the envelope and removed the yellow lined paper inside. And on it was a letter, written in a hand that looked familiar. The letter read, "I know this whole event has probably been pretty difficult. Can't imagine how hard it has been for me too." Well, maybe you can. That isn't meant to be an excuse, but, well, I hoped you can better understand why I've done what I've done. Moving to this town seemed like such a dream, a quiet place to get established, to live out our lives, and to be together. But you know as well as I do that things quickly changed. Your drinking was one thing, but as you grew more distant, as you retreated into that world of yours, well, it was clear you didn't need me as much. In fact, maybe you never needed me at all, but it took all this to make you realize. In the end, though, you may never forgive me for this. You may never forgive yourself, but this is probably for the best. You'll be healthier for this. I'm just sorry it had to happen this way. Rachel. So she just up. So I'm guessing like we had anger issues, drinking problems, things like that, and so she was trying to get out. It seemed like I had seen all there was. Maybe I thought I was ready to go back into the basement. I don't want to go back into the basement, though. Maybe there wouldn't be anything for me to find, but I had to take a last look. If I was guilty, I could take this to a warm, safe place and do something about it. Did I pick up the knife? No, there were other means of dealing with this. What? Okay. If I wanted to end it, I could do it. I could do it with that gun. Did I pick it up again? Dang. Some heavy stuff. Yeah? It's like carrying an anvil, but I wouldn't let it go. Not again. Now that I stood there, I realized I couldn't go back into that room again. I'd already seen too much. I needed to put an end to the situation one way or another. Shaving the dust remained where I'd apparently left the gun. We'll pick it up too, why not? Took the knife and kept it firmly in my hand. I do remember this part because there's trophies associated with this. So there's 3 options you can do. Let's see, the mail still sat there, heaped on the floor. How long had Rachel been lying in the basement? Seemed like that mail had been there for a while. So, that was it. With Rachel gone, I couldn't stand to be in that house a moment longer. But I had the gun again, and that knife. This wasn't the only way to end this, I knew. But did I leave and say goodbye to that nightmare forever? So you could do 3 things. You can leave, just like leave the house right here. I won't do that. I looked again at the knife and gun I carried. I might have been able to use one of those instead. So there's 3 options. 2 of them obviously end up offing yourself. One is if you climb the stairs and go up into the bathtub, the claw-footed bathtub, you use the knife and but I guess it's not here. Like if you go back into the kitchen, you'll just... So, I guess we'll do that. All of them sound like such delightful options. I sat down at the table and stared at the gun in my hand. It didn't seem so heavy this time. If I wanted to, I could use the gun to finally end this. The question was, did I think I deserved it? Did I? Was this my fault? Did I deserve to die? No. As painful as all this was, I didn't lay the blame on myself. Yes! We've got the gun and the knife and now we're on the loose! Living in this town hadn't been easy. The plant had helped in some way to stay grounded. It kept me in line, gave me something to do, and helped me get away from my past. When the factory closed, everything changed. I guess that was when I had started sleepwalking, disappearing for hours at a time. I had MRIs and piles of doctor's reports, but nothing seemed to help, not even drinking. But I swear I had tried to give it up. I know it. The sleepwalking never really went away, though. But I know Rachel had tried. I know she had tried to be there for me, even when everything was falling apart. This night had unearthed terrible truths, but I knew it was a final act of a long-standing horror I'd been living. Waking up in that house tonight was the final cruelty. I wish I had remained unconscious in that room forever. It was obvious to me that the man I had found in that house had something to do with all this. Could he have killed Rachel? It started to seem that there were too many things I had seen to think otherwise. Even if he didn't kill Rachel, he's definitely guilty of something. After making it out of those tunnels, I thought those sewers might feel safer. I was wrong. The security tape I'd watched showed someone being attacked by what looked like 2 people. But who was it that was attacked? I'd found the contents of my wallet scattered throughout town. Why the hell had I been out there? Had my sleepwalking gone to some new extreme? The thought that I couldn't account for my whereabouts, but knew I had been to that forest, and even Norman's place, well, it was terrifying. I didn't know what that meant, but at least I had recovered my things. Hopefully I thought that would cover my tracks, so I wouldn't be blamed for all this. Even more troubling were those poor girls I had found in those terrible woods. Half hidden in a shallow grave, their secret deaths seemed like the ultimate defiling. If I hadn't found them, would anyone have done so? Would they have even been missed? I vaguely recalled the desk I had seen in those tunnels, the names etched there. Someone had killed those girls. Was it that man? It was clear, at least, that Norman had been going back to the old plant. Maybe he was the one who had boarded up that locker room, who had been drinking up there in that secret hiding place. So had he killed that guard then? He must have. Maybe he was found out the guard had caught him on patrol. Damn it, Norman, why? After the factory, I thought I might find some solace if I could just get to Norman's store. But all I had found were more horrors and more questions. Now that I really consider it, that's when I should have seen it coming. Norman, what were you and Rachel up to? It was obvious things were more complicated than I'd ever imagined. How long had you been going behind my back? More importantly, why, Norman? Whoever had killed Rachel had probably gone after you too. Maybe they knew about what you were up to. I would never know peace, Norman, but despite your transgressions, a part of me really did hope that you would. When I had marched through the rain towards home, I desperately clung to the hope that this would end. And I guess in a way it did, but how could I have known how hopeless it all was? I had started to feel as disoriented as when I sleepwalked. To think about it now, I guess I should have known from the terrible silence that greeted me when I first stepped into our house and stood there in the kitchen. There was no sound of television, radio, even the air was still, but seeing Rachel there, lying ruined and discarded in the basement, that was a horror I never could have imagined. I didn't know if I'd ever find the answers I craved, but I knew that somehow that the other man was responsible for this. I had found was responsible for this. If not directly, he must have had a hand in Rachel's death. So what was I doing in that damn house of his? Had I found out? Had I killed him? My damn condition made it difficult to know. Memories and time frames were always a mess, and I could never be sure. Knowing that man was dead, though, was cold comfort. My wife was gone, and no matter what happened to me now, I was lost forever. As I swung open the door and stepped out into the air, I caught the scent of wet grass and fog. Rachel, my beautiful wife. Just the thought of her again, cold and inert, shook me from head to toe. What would I do now? Who could I turn to? It would only be a matter of time before the police got involved, before the neighbors knew. The front lawn was soft and giving beneath my feet, and I couldn't shake the urge that I shouldn't stand there, but rather that I should run. It's a fairly short game. It's fun. And it's cool because, like I said, you can choose all the different options you want to do. Like, you can leave things. You don't have to pick anything up. But the story is very open-ended. Like, were we just crazy that whole time? And, like, were we kind of the ones behind everything? I think that the reality was that we're probably the ones that killed our wife. But that other guy had to have had something to do with it, and home is dedicated to my wife Nancy. Watch her back. That's funny. Yeah, I mean, like I said, a very short game. Very inexpensive on the PS4 store. Like I said, it might have been free whenever I got it. I don't remember. But it's definitely worth a shot. Like, give it a shot, and so. If you like choose your own adventure type books, things like that, then you'll want to give this one a shot. That's going to do it for this episode, guys. Thank you for joining me for this very brief, unique horror experience. And my name is Zarthimus Prime. I will catch you guys next time. Peace.